Easy as 1 + 1. Easy peasy.
Neil Brownell, the crazy inventor, here to prove to you that you are amazing. I'm so positive that I put it in writing. You are amazing, and I will prove it. Throughout my life, I have been told from a very young age that I was put here to suffer. I not only was told that in person, but I've been told that over and over and over again by different programs. I am here to tell you today that God, the science of God, that you are good. You were made out of pure goodness, and you were put here to enjoy, not to suffer. Certainly, there will be some times when things just don't go right and you have to go through some difficult times. That's just part of the game of growing and learning and getting better. I have told you in the past that I am 66 years old. That means that I have lots of reference points in order to show you different things that will happen throughout your life and how you can deal with those things. And because I am 66 years old, I have had my share of failures. Failure is a learning experience that more often than not sucks. However, once you fight your way past that failure and through the different failures, success is on the way. Now let's just face it straight out. What I just said, the nice quote that I just said, well, that's great for you to think about and things like that. But how can you use that in order to help yourself within the science of God? The fact that you are good. You were made out of pure goodness. My lady Linda and I have never been people that spent money frivolously. But even with that, you have to know the rules of money. And Linda and I, not spending money frivolously, wound up forgetting about the number one rule of money. Without this rule, there is no money. So when I tell you what this rule is, internalize it and remember it forever. And that is, cash flow is everything. Without cash flow, you have nothing. Linda and I have set our lives up. She and I have known each other for roughly 24 years. And over those 24 years, we worked really, really, really hard on the front end of that. The first 15 years or so, we worked tremendously hard. And we paid everything off. We paid our house off. We paid our land off. We paid everything that's on the land off. So we have virtually no bills. And through that time, I tried to set up things that would help me with cash flow, but it didn't work out. So although I'm in a position that is unbelievably good, having no bills, having no cash flow doesn't help at all. You desperately need it. During the time that Linda and I were setting everything up and getting it into really good shape with our bills and everything, well, we were in such good shape that I'm like, well, you know, if we add a couple of little bills here or there, it isn't going to hurt. I mean, what could a couple little bills hurt? Well, the fact is that if you don't have any cash flow to pay those little bills, it can hurt a lot. So once we did this, at this point, we were not in good shape. Yes, we owned everything, but with just a few missteps, we could be in real trouble. So now that we have failed, what do we do to right the ship? Well, there's only one thing to do, and that is to get up, brush yourself off, and then figure out what we need to do in order to make our situation better. Because it's not somebody else's fault that we're in bad shape, it's our fault, and we're the only ones that can fix it. So the very first thing that we did was we looked around the house and the property for anything that might return us some cash flow. Well, I had a lot of projects going, and underneath most circumstances, I wouldn't do this, but we were really in bad shape. And so I told Linda, okay, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to look at every single project that we have going. And we are going to take any material that we have not used, and we are going to return that material. And we are going to return that material to Home Depot or Lowe's, because thank God they will let you return things up to a certain time period, and we were well within that period. So that got all that money back for us. So we now had some cash sitting there. We canceled our television subscription. We were spending $100 a month on that. And it's like, yo, if it is something that we do not need, it's something that is a luxury or just something that we want and we do not need it, and it's taking cash flow, we did away with it altogether. We didn't worry about whether it was going to be an inconvenience for us. If you don't have cash flow, you have nothing. So you have to make sure that your cash flow is healthy at all times. In fact, I can tell you a story about a man that I personally knew, and I was in the inner circle of this man. So I know what was going on behind the scenes. And that is, this man ran a store that took in roughly $1,000 to $1,500 a day, and this is even going back into the 80s and 90s, so that's really good money. Only he just ran the business in debt. I don't have any idea why, but he always had the business in debt. But because he had such great cash flow, he just was able to sprinkle the cash flow around, keep everybody happy for more than 50 years. And here Linda and I have no bills, but we have no cash flow, and we're struggling. That's how important cash flow is. When Linda and I got together, she has a lot of antiques that came from the home that she grew up in. They had a boarding house, and so it was a very large house, and they had a lot of things there that were started. The house was started, what, 150 years ago, Linda? About 150 years ago or so, the house was started, and so you can imagine the antiques that she had. Well, we decided at that time that we were going to rent a storage unit, and we were going to pay monthly bills of $150 or more for that stupid storage bin. Well, obviously, without cash flow, you can't afford $150 for anything. And so we had to solve that problem. And like usual, God was really good to us. I have a very good friend who has a lot of wood that he had stored for a long time, and he said, hey, if you want it, you can have it. And because of my background of being a carpenter and all those things, I was able to build a small barn next to the house, get rid of the unit, and then put everything into that small barn. So the bottom line here is that you get rid of everything that is draining your cash. The next thing that we did was thank God, we have a house cleaning business, or had one, I should say. We just recently closed it. Again, we're 66 and Linda's slightly older. So we closed the business. But at that time, we had the house cleaning business. And with the house cleaning business, you can just add another house or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever you really need. Although Linda and I were doing all the houses that we could physically do within reason, we didn't have a choice. We absolutely had to add some more houses. And by adding those houses, it was extremely difficult, because I don't know if you're in the house cleaning business or know anything about it, but the moment you walk in the door, you never stop moving. You're reaching above your head, you're crawling under beds, you're cleaning tubs, you're cleaning wall surrounds in showers, you're cleaning the glass doors, you're cleaning the glass, you're vacuuming, you're dusting everything, and you never stop moving for a moment. And it makes no difference whether that house takes the two of us 1 hour to do or 6 hours to do. You never stop moving for all those 6 hours. But we had no choice. And because we had no choice, we said, hey, this is what we're going to do. Complaining about it isn't going to help none. We'll get ourselves out of debt as fast as we can, and then we'll cut back again. But we did it. Although we weren't happy about the way this whole thing went down. In fact, I was pretty angry about how it went down. Because of the steps we took, our finances started getting better almost immediately, and it just continued to get better. So then, as we were making things better, we built ourselves up a nest egg, because you should always have a rainy day fund, no matter what. You should have rainy day food in the house. You should have rainy day money in the house in case something desperately goes wrong. You will have it. I don't know when they stopped teaching us to save for a rainy day, to prepare for the bad times and let it sit there while you're having good times. But that's what we did, and it helped enormously. And right now, we're in unbelievably good shape. And we kept this pace up for years until we really did get ourselves in really good shape. So as you see, failure was just that stepping stone. It was just something you had to go through that really, really sucks. But when you go ahead and you grab a hold of it and you solve the problem, things get better. So grab a hold of any problems you have and make it better. Now, I'm going to take this just a little bit into politics, because politics will affect you personally, and most people think that it won't, but in this case it most definitely will. And that is, right now the administration that's in there is trying to tackle the world's largest deficit, meaning we have no money. We have bills coming out of our ears in the tune of hundreds of trillions of dollars. Yeah, somebody will tell you that it's only 33 trillion, but we've got Social Security in there and they don't count that. And they've got Medicare and they don't count that. And if you ran your own household that way, you would go broke so fast it's unbelievable. So as you see, in a personal manner, what we did was we cut back on every bill that we possibly could cut back on, and we increased the cash flow. So right now the administration is cutting back on every bill they can, and yes, it is inconvenient. It is a pain in the butt. But if we don't, we will wind up broke. That's just the science of God. That's the way that things are set up in a natural manner. And so The next thing that they're doing is they're increasing cash flow from tariffs, from anywhere that they can get cash flow coming in. So you see, you cut your bills, you increase your cash flow, you save for a rainy day. And I also want to bring it to your attention because most people don't know this, but in the first time that this administration was in, Trump 45, he asked Nancy Pelosi and the Congress if he could refinance the national debt, because the national debt at that time, the interest rates were at zero or really, really close to zero. So that meant that you could refinance the entire thing and lose all of that interest. And if you know anything about credit cards, the interest will destroy you. Only the Congress said no. Right now, you can't do that because the interest rates have gone up. And so if you do not want this country to fail, I would vote against absolutely every person that stood against refinancing, regardless of who wanted to do that refinancing. You don't decide on whether a policy is a good policy or not by, oh, I don't like him, so it's a bad policy. No, you look at the policy, you forget about the guy, and you say, oh, these policies I like and these I don't. But this policy could have saved us an enormous amount of money. It could have saved us an enormous amount of heartache. What we're going through right now may not even have happened for the most part if we were able to do that. So the bottom line here is, personally, get yourself a rainy day fund. Get yourself a rainy day material around the house, meaning supplies, food, and whatever else that you can get around. Canned food will last forever, but it'll get you through if you absolutely have to, and you don't need a ton of it, my goodness. And just buy a little bit each time that you go into the store, and the next thing you know, you've got it. Same with money. Each time that you get a little cash flow, set just a little bit of aside, and the next thing you know, you'll have, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 or more to lean back on when there's problems. And as far as the politics of all this goes, vote anybody out that wants this country to stay into debt to the point that they won't even allow someone to refinance at zero. Always remember, you are good. You were made good. You are made out of pure goodness, energy of pure goodness. The science of God. String theory tells us this through science as well as through ancient religions. Pick yourself up. You're the only one that can help yourself. Help yourself by helping others. Thank you so very much. Neil Brownell, the crazy inventor. You're amazing, and I'll prove it. So positive, I put it in writing. We also have it in dyslexic format, which is just a simpler, easier way for the brain to pick up the words with the fonts and a little bit further apart. Always remember that if there's anybody out there that needs to know that they are absolutely incredible and they don't know it, for only $14.99, you can change their life forever. Thank you.